So our class today will be on probability, where we'll discuss an applied topic in our daily lives. If I were to ask, what is probability? What do you understand by the term probability? What is probability?
It's the likelihood of something occurring.
Yeah.
I didn't hear that.
It's the likelihood of something occurring.
Yes, the likelihood of something occurring, the chance that some event will take place. That is what we call probability. So probability really takes us to our daily happenings. We want to, in this unit, understand the different types of probability distributions, find the probability of the random variable, find the mean, the standard deviation, and also how to use probability to dealing with binomial and normal distributions. So that is what we're going to look at. Now, there are what we call probability distributions, and one of the easiest is what we call the discrete random variable. What are discrete numbers and what are continuous numbers? From yesterday's class. Discrete numbers are countable numbers that don't occur within a range that definite, like 1, 2, 3. How many children do you have? How many classes have you attended? Whereas continuous numbers are in between ranges. It could be 1.5, 1.7, etc. So we're going to learn how to come up with the mean, standard deviation using the discrete random variables. So the mean is simply given by summation of x and the probability of x. The variance is given by summation of x, the power 2, probability of x, minus the mean itself, which is summation of x px. The variance is what makes the standard deviation. So when you square root the variance, we call it standard deviation. So this, if we're given random variables like 1, 2, 3, and maybe 4, we've been given the probabilities. Probabilities should add up to 1. Probability that you're going to get a 1 maybe 0.2. Probability of getting a 2 maybe 0.4. Probability of getting a 3 is 0.1. Probability of getting a 4 maybe 0.3. So using this, I want you to follow the format and see how we're going to calculate our mean and our standard deviation. So when I multiply the values of x and the respective probabilities, the total is called my mean or expected value. So 1 times 0.2, 0.2. 2 times 0.4, 0.8. 3 times 0.1, 0.3. 4 times 0.3, 1.2. So the total is called the summation of x px. This is how we find our mean. As simple as that, 3 marks for that. So let's total up. So can somebody total them up?
That's a 2.5.
2.5. So this is called our mean. So mean is the same as expected value E per x. So our mean or average is 2.5. All right. Then you can choose to square the values of x. So this is 1, 4, 9, and 16. Then you multiply these ones with the probability again. So this would be x squared times the probability of x. So what is 1 times 0.2? 0.2. 4 times 0.8, 3.2. 9 times 0.3, 2.7. 16 times 0.3, 4.8. When you total them up, what do you get? 10.9. This is summation of x squared dx. The E means what? Summation. So the summation of x squared px. So that is our summation of x squared. So remember, the variance is summation of x squared px times the mean squared. So variance in this case of what? Summation of x squared probability of x minus the mean squared. So this is 10.9 minus what? 2.5 squared. So this is how we find our variance, which will give us 4.65. 4.65. And so our
Hi,
pardon?
sorry for taking you a bit back. You're quite fast today. Maybe you can just repeat yourself on the right.
All right, okay. So we're given the random variables of x as 1, 2, 3, and 4, and the probabilities as given as follows. So this is the only information that we have today. So you need to check and make sure that the probability of x is 1. That is our requirement. So you check, make sure it's 100% 1. So you always be asked 3 things to find. The mean. The other term for the mean is what? Expected value. The other term for the expected value is what? Average. It's the same thing. So the average is simply found by the summation of x times the probability of x. So 1 times 0.2 is 0.2. 2 times 0.4 is 0.8. 3 times 0.1 and 4 times 0.3. These are the values. So the total here, this is what we call the mean. You get your 6 marks. So your mean is 2.5. Hey, are we together at this point?
Yeah.
We're together?
Yes, we are.
All right. Okay. Then we go to finding our variance. So we square the values of x. So 1 squared is 4, 2 squared, 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4, 3 squared 9, and 16. So now start multiplying. So 1 times 0.2, 0.2. 4 times 0.4. 4 times 0.4, what do we get? It's 0. So multiplying this one. 1 times 0. So we're getting, let's recalculate them again. So what is 1 times 0.2? It is 0.2. 4 times 0.4, 1.6. 9 times 0.1, 0.9. And 16 times 0.3, we get
.8.
4.8. And total them up here.
Mm. 7.5.
7.5. Good. So this 7.5 is called what? Our summation of x squared px. Now, how do we find the variance? How do we find? So summation of x squared px, which is 7.5 minus what? 2.5. The part 2. Mhm. What do you get? Are we following? So this total here, when we subtract the mean that we got here, that's what we call our variance. So 7.5 minus 2.5 squared, we get 1.25. So when you square root the variance, we get the standard deviation. So 1.25 in this case. When you square root that, we're going to get 1.11. So this is how we calculate that. Okay, this is how we calculate that. So I want us to follow that format. Let's calculate the mean, the variance, and the standard deviation for an example that I'll give you. Let's try it together. Suppose we're given the values of x as 0, 1, 2. And the probability here, we've been given 0.3. They've given you letter A. They've given you 0.1. First of all, how do you find letter A? Once you try, how do you find letter A? We know that the total probability must be equal to what? 1. So how do you find letter A? So 1 should be equal to what? 0.3. It also plus A as 0.1. So we just solve for A. So 0.3 plus 0.1 is 0.4. So when 0.4 goes aside, we're going to have our A to be 0.6. Sometimes the examiner will be tricky and they'll give you a missing value. So here our A is equal to what? 0.6. Then how do we find the mean? We multiply the value of x times the probability itself. So 0 times 0.3 is 0. 1 times 0.6 is 0.6. 2 times 0.1 is 0.2. So when you total up here, we get 0.8. So meaning our mean, so but A, value of A we found as what? 0.6. But B, Our mean, we found out 0.8. So how do we find the variance? How do we find the variance? We first square the values of x. Okay. And we bring back our probability as they are 0.3, 0.6, and 0.1. Probabilities must always add up to 1. So what is the value of 0 squared? That is 0. 1 squared, that is 1. 2 squared, that is 4. So we now multiply these two. X squared times the probability of x. So 0 times 0.3 is 0. 1 times 0.6 is 0.6. 4 times 0.1, 0.4. So when you total up here, we're getting 1.0. Now, the variance is simply when we subtract the summation of x squared px minus the mean to the power 2. So 1, the mean was what? 0.8 to the power 2. So 1 minus 0.8 to the power 2, we get 0.36. So the standard deviation, therefore, is when you square root the variance. So 0.36, square root it. We're going to now get 0.6 as our standard deviation. So the procedure that I've been looking at throughout is the same. So all you need is to ensure that you follow the format as you have been given. Then we calculate our values as they have been given. So the question might come in a problem form. The question might come, so you just need to apply our concept. So let's go to our module. So we've been told to find the variance and standard deviation for the following information. So values of x is 0, 1, and 2. The probability is 0.25, 0.5, and 0.25. So I want you to participate. So we've been given the values of x as 0, 1, and 2. The probabilities of x will be given as what? 0.25, 5, and 0.25. So I want somebody to participate. Since I can see your names, I can choose any two. So to find the mean, I need Irene and Mwinga to take us through for the mean, Vasti and Chisha for the variance, and Chirwa for the standard deviation, in that order. So how do you find our mean?
Collins, apologies. Like I said, I'm on the road, so I'm just listening in.
All right, okay. So,
Yes.
Vasti, how do we find the mean?
I'm a bit behind as well. I was just getting from church. I'm just settling down.
So Mwinga, how do you find the mean? You multiply just these two.
We multiply by px, then we add, we sum the total. We add the
total.
we have this that to be our, yes.
So we just multiply the value of x times the probability of x. The total is called the mean. So 0 times 0.25 is 0. 1 times 0.5 is 0.5. 2 times 0.25 is 0.5. So When we total up that, we get our mean or expected value of 1. So how do you find the variance?
When that
Uh,
comes up.
How do you find how do you find the variance? You first square the value of x,
We just find the square. Oh, okay.
which is 0, 1, and 4. Okay, so bring back the probabilities, which is 0.25, 0.5, and 0.25. Then you multiply them, these two. So this will be the value of x squared px. Okay. So here, what is 0 times 0 times 0.25? This is 0. 1 times 0.5, 0.5. Okay, 4 times 0.25, we get 1. So when you add all these, this is 1.5. So our mean is already 1. Our variance, it's not 1.5, but it's summation of x squared px minus the mean squared. So it's 1.5 minus the mean, which we found was 1 squared. So this is 0.5. And the standard deviation is when you square root our variance. So when you square root our 0.5, we get 0.7071. So until you get it, I want us to practice more and more. Please, those of you who've just joined, this is a principle that we are looking at, how to find the mean, standard deviation, and variance for discrete random variables. This is one of the easiest probability distributions. I don't see why you should get confused here. Okay, so let's try from what I've said. So the gentlemen only, how do you find the mean? And the ladies, how do you find the standard deviation? So let's start with the gents. How do you find the mean? Axon. The mean, anyone?
I can try. Is it x times px?
X times px, correct. Continue. So 3 times 0.2, 0.6. 6 times 0.5 is 3. 9 times 0.3 is 2.7. So the total that we're getting in this case is called what?
Called the
mean.
summation. It's called the
It's called the summation of what? XPX, which is also called the what? The mean, which is 6.3. Okay. Then we square the values of x. Instead of 3, we have 9. Instead of 6, we have 36. Instead of 9, we have 81. Then we bring back the probability as it is, 0.2, 0.5, and 0.3.
Ananaka.
Okay. So now to find the variance, we're going to multiply x squared times px. So here, what are we going to have? 9 times 0.2. What do we get? 9 times 0.2, 1.8.
1.8.
That's 6 times 0.5, 18. 81 times 0.3, and 4.3. So when you sum them up, we get 44.1. Now, at this point, how do you find the variance? Anyone? How do you find the variance? Anyone, how do you find the variance?
The variance is the summation of x squared minus px minus m2. So we have to fill in the values.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
This is not m, it is a u, it's a mean.
Oh, it's a u, okay.
Mean squared, yes.
Okay.
So
Oh, okay.
so if you want, you can write it as follows. And as summation of x squared px, this is a mean, the power of 2,
Okay.
something. So let's substitute. So this is 44.1
So that's
minus what? 6.
minus 6.3.
Okay. So what are you getting? 4.41. Okay, who wants to help us? How do we find the standard deviation?
It's a square root of the variance.
Mm-hmm. Square root of 4.41. What do we get? 2.1. Okay. So where are we getting it wrong? Where are we having problem? Are we on the same page now? So some questions.
We're getting there. I think it's just the symbols. We'll get familiar with them.
All right. So given the distribution for random variable x, what's the value of x? What are they looking for here? The value of x is a difference from 1. We know that this plus that plus that plus that plus that should be equal to 1. So when you add all this, you get 0.92. And subtract from there, it's 0.08. So now people perish because of what? Lack of knowledge. Otherwise, that's the concept here. Same here. How do you find the value of a? You just add all this and subtract from 1. Except that this is a plus 2a, it's 3a. When this one goes the other side, you subtract. Okay? So that is how we are supposed to calculate it. Okay. So I want you to find our, on this question, find our mean and our standard deviation. So the mean, they're just multiplying 100 times 0.4. If you don't want to use the table, you can use it just directly. Plus 400 times 0.3, plus 500 times 0.18, plus 1000 times 0.12. And total up there, that is called our expected value, If it's profit, expected profit. If it's sales, expected sales. So that's how you find it. It's an issue of just multiplying them. Okay. It's an issue of just multiplying them. Okay, so lastly, let's try 2, 4, 6, 8. So here we have the probability of X of A 0.15, 0.25, and 0.3. Can somebody tell me how do you find the value of A? How do you find the value of A? We know the total must be 1. So the value of A is simply the missing figure from 1. So A plus 0.15 plus 0.25 plus 3. Let's figure to 1. So this is 0.4 plus 0.3 is 0.7. So how do you find the value of A? A is 1 minus 0.7. What is the answer? 0.3. So here put 0.3. How do you find the mean? How do you find the mean?
You multiply the values of X with the PX.
Correct. 0.6. Then here, what do you get? 4 times 0.15. So 0.6. Then 6 times 0.25. You get 1.5. Then 8 times 0.3. You get 2.4. Okay. Then we also square the values of X. That is 2. They are 4, 16, 36, and what? 64. We're bringing the values of the probability back again, 0.3, 0.15, 0.25, and 0.3. So the total of this column is called what? What is it called?
The mean.
The mean, correct. It's 5.1. Then we apply these to X squared px. So 4 times 0.3, 1.2. 16 times 0.15. This is 2.4. That's 6 times 0.25, which is 9. And 64 times 0.3, we get 19.what? 3.2. So plus 9 plus 2.4 plus 1.2, we get that 1.8. So how do we get now the mean? The mean, we've already calculated it as what? 5.1. And the variance is that 1.8 minus 5.1, the part 2. So I'll give you some classwork to do for now, just on what we've learned. So end here, and I'll give you 20 minutes or 30 minutes to do that work. I'll send it on the group, just on what we have covered today. I don't want to do quite a lot. Right.